making sure that your puppy really is having a good time is also sometimes a challenge. I get clients who have an adolescent dog and they say, well, I took him everywhere. I took him everywhere. And why is he fearful now? And when I start asking how the puppy was behaving in those situations, that puppy wasn't having a good time at all. Just because a puppy is well behaved doesn't mean that he's okay.
Welcome to the Pet Care Report podcast by Pet Summits. Here's your dog training host, Melissa Viera.
Hello and welcome back to the Pet Care Report. I'm your host, Melissa. If you currently have a puppy or you're thinking about getting a puppy, you certainly want to catch today's episode. I'm excited to talk all things puppies with leading expert Teoti Anderson. Teoti is a dog trainer with 26 or over 26 years of experience. Teoti has written several books. She is the past president of the Association of Pet Dog Trainers, vice president of a Dog's Best Friend in Florida. This is a lot to, you have a lot of credentials.
I've been at this a very long time. It's a lot to say, I know.
You are a speaker, presenter, columnist. Oh my goodness, you have a lot of valuable information to share, and I'm so excited to just dive into this topic of puppyhood with you. So puppies are very cute and fun and exciting, but they're also, let's be honest, a little bit frustrating sometimes, right? So a lot of people have some questions about navigating puppyhood, and you are the perfect person to open that door for us and tell us a little bit more about puppyhood and that big to-do list of socialization. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what you do and your passion for puppies.
Well, I would like to say that I started professionally training when I was 2, but no, I'm actually older than that. I'm way older than that. I've been at this a long time. And one of my favorite things to do is to work with puppies. Puppies are clean slates and they learn so easily, and everything is full of promise with a puppy. We have a program at A Dog's Best Friend here where we raise puppies for the first month for people, and it's a really exciting program. We love it. But puppies are exhausting. I'll go to a client's home and I can always tell they have the puppy because they have bandages up and down their arms. They're like, "Oh, we're so glad you're here." They're stopping the bleeding as I walk in the room. The baseboards are chewed. There's pee everywhere. It's just, yes, puppies are exhausting. And I don't know what it is, but I think something escapes us when we forget about that. It's been, especially if it's been a long time since you've had a puppy. It's, you had a wonderful dog that, made it to 15 or made it to 18, and you forget about the sleepless nights and all the cleanup and paper towels and the stresses of having a puppy. One of the biggest things that I work with, though, is the problem with socialization, is that a lot of clients don't really understand what it is precisely, or they have a concept in their heads about what socialization might be, but they're doing it incorrectly. And so the dog is getting bad experiences rather than good experiences. So for the purposes of socialization, the way I talk about it is getting your dog out, your puppy, very young puppy, preferably before 12 weeks of age, out and about, experiencing different areas, different people, different animals, different flooring, different sounds, all while making sure that that puppy is having a party. That puppy is having a really good time. Because if the puppy is having a bad time, you could be creating some fear that you're going to have to deal with later, fear that can lead to aggression later too. And making sure that your puppy really is having a good time is also sometimes a challenge. I get clients who have an adolescent dog and they say, well, I took him everywhere. I took him everywhere. And why is he fearful now? And when I start asking how the puppy was behaving in those situations, that puppy wasn't having a good time at all. Just because a puppy is well behaved doesn't mean that he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a real quiet puppy really shutting down, right, he could be shutting down.
And it's not just taking them everywhere. It's really making sure that experience is productive, and it's what you're kind of making that experience a little bit. It's a little bit of a simulation of like how you want your dog to experience the world in the future. And do you have any tips of how to even go about that? That's a big step for pet owners to try to figure out, okay, well, where do I take my puppy and how do I make sure that those experiences are going to be positive?
It is a big step, and it's a limited time window.
Yeah.
I'll have people say, I'm ready to socialize my dog and he's 2. I'm like, oh,
right.
A little late. So we're really aiming for 12 weeks. You do have to be safe. You want to make sure that you carry hypoallergenic wipes to wipe the puppy's feet if he's going to be where other dogs have been. You want to avoid certain areas that unvaccinated dogs may have been. So when I say socialization, I mean the things that I said before, making sure your puppy has all those wonderful experiences with different types of people and different ethnicities and all those things. A lot of people think socialization means other dogs. And they do need to be exposed to other dogs, but in a very safe manner. So we're never going to go to a dog park with a puppy. Please don't ever do that. Please don't ever do that. You can't control anything. Everybody in the dog park is doing this. They're not paying attention to their dog attacking your dog. They're not paying attention if their dog is aggressive or having a bad time. So you don't want to go to a dog park. That's not what socialization is all about. I love taking dogs to stores. Stores that allow dogs. I put a towel in the bottom of the cart and I make sure that they're still on a leash because I've had a few puppies try to leap out of the cart even while it's in motion.
Right.
So I want to make sure we're secure. And we go tooling around that store and with cookies just rain from the sky. We have lots of treats and lots of cookies and someone's going to come up and go, what a cute puppy. Here, give him a cookie. If the puppy is not having a good time, if the puppy is not taking treats, if the puppy is just sleeping through the whole experience, that puppy is shut down. And that means that you've overwhelmed that puppy. So some puppies need to start in the parking lot, maybe in the car, propped in the window, again, secured so they can't jump out. And maybe we just look at the world from the safety of the car for a while until we get more comfortable. And then maybe we hang out front of the store until that puppy gets comfortable. And then we have the ability to go inside. And I just want to add that may not be in the same session. That may be 5 sessions. That may be 10. It depends on the puppy, and the puppy gets to decide what he's afraid of. So I like to go to stores with puppies. I like to go in the neighborhood. I like to invite people over, have puppy parties. I don't want to have 30 people over at one time. That's a lot. But, you want to stagger that. You want to have a couple people over, then another couple people over, then another couple people over. Exposing that puppy to people who are regularly in and out of your home. If you have gardeners, if you have the air conditioning guy coming, if you've got landscape folks, we want to make sure that that puppy is exposed to that and finds them to be friendly and wonderful and not scary.
And I like your idea about stores too, because so many stores are pet friendly now. If you just ask and make sure they're comfortable with it, what better way to socialize your puppy? You're going to meet a lot of people when you're in a store with a puppy.
Exactly. There's so many people, and even if you don't have people that want to come up to your puppy is learning how to navigate, sounds, loudspeakers and carts and children, and there's usually a wide variety. Even if you go outside a grocery store parking lot, and there's all sorts of people that come to the grocery store, and so there's just a variety of people that are there that can either interact with your puppy or your puppy can experience and get cookies the whole time to make sure that he's having a good time.
And like you said, the puppy is the one who decides. So it's not us who decides, well, this looks cute and this looks like it's going to make a good social media photo, so it must be socialization.
It's all for Facebook and the Insta. We got to do it. Right. Well, I'm going to have my puppy pose with the entire cheerleading squad because, the puppy, looks stricken in the photo. This is why we dog trainers are never fun on social media sometimes, because we're like, that puppy's not happy. Why did you post that picture? Why? Don't hug it. Don't hug the puppy.
We can't help ourselves.
We're awful.
But it's the puppy who decides. And can you explain a little bit about what that looks like? I know you said if your puppy is just sleeping through this experience, they've probably already checked out. But what are some minor things that pet parents can look for to kind of help determine if their puppy's getting to that point where maybe they've had their dose of socialization for the day?
That's a great question, because I think a lot of people don't know. We're experts in canine behavior. This is what we do. We're geeks about it. We study it all the time. And that's not what everybody else does. And they don't have to. They have us, right? So lip licking, when your puppy is doing this, lip licking a lot, that can be a sign of stress. Yawning can be a sign of stress. It doesn't necessarily mean that your puppy is suddenly wanting to take a nap in the middle of the cheerleading squad photo. We want to make sure that if they have an adrenaline shake off, that's if they shake as if they're wet, but they're not wet. They shake like they've just been dunked in the pool or something, but they're not wet. It's not raining. That can be a sign of stress. Avoidance is a sign of stress. So if a big, tall guy with a baseball cap is coming to you and your puppy goes behind you, that's avoidance. That's a puppy saying, no, I don't want anything to do with him. He's scary. There are lots of subtle signs. What I try to tell people to help them understand is, if you run an errand and you come home, what does your puppy look like? I mean, really, what does your puppy look like? He should be wiggly. He should be curvy and bouncy. He may put his front down and his butt up. He might do a big stretch, big puppy stretch. He should have soft eyes. They should look a little squinty, and he should look at you. And he should be very, very bouncy and curvy. If your puppy doesn't look like that in other settings, he's not as happy. So you know that after you've bonded with your puppy and after you've been gone for an hour or two and you come home, that puppy is just so excited to see you, hopefully, really excited to see you, and is all bouncy. I said, that's what happy looks like. So when I tell people that, I'm like, all right, so when you took your puppy for that cheerleading photo or to the store, is that what your puppy looked like? And if they go, oh, yes, he was all bouncy, he was kissing everybody's face, it was great. I'm like, good. If they say, oh, no, he didn't do that at all, I'm like, oh, then he actually wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And the challenge is that with very young puppies, they don't have the guts. Some do. Those are fun. So they don't have the guts to do anything about it. So they're just going to be, la, 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 wait till it's over. Please let me survive this nightmare.
Right.
But when they hit adolescence, then they start saying, I've been putting up with this for months now, and I'm afraid. So I need to start reacting. And that's sometimes we don't get called in for the puppy, but we get called in for that reactivity that kicks in adolescence because that puppy's really been afraid the whole time. So if you recognize that your puppy does have some fears, maybe not as wiggly and bouncy as you think it's supposed to be, maybe we need some professional help to help the puppy overcome those barriers now, not later.
Yeah, and I think that's important to think about too, because it might appear that your puppy is just being really calm and really well behaved, but that's not the case. They're saving those behaviors for you. Just wait.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're cooking.
Yeah. So that can be a really dangerous thing. And it's that perception of like, wow, how impressive is my puppy who can just lay here through this parade and not be reacting to anything. But unfortunately, that's really hard on the puppy when that's happening in most cases.
Exactly. I did a case recently with a shepherd mix. And I asked those very questions because, he suddenly started going after guests. And he was an adult now, maybe about 2. And so I started asking these questions. They said, he's always fine with guests. And I said, well, what did he do when he was a baby? Did he run up to them? Did he chew their shoelaces? Did he try to climb up their faces? And they're like, no, he would go and sniff them and then go and leave. I'm like, yeah, he wasn't social. That's not what a social puppy would do. He was checking them out, examining the resumes and then dismissing them. Right. And then I'm going to go watch them from over here. They always said he would go under the table and just watch them. I'm like, okay, that's not a puppy that's comfortable. So when he got into adulthood, he's like, all right, I've been putting up with visitors to this house for 2 years now, and now I have to start chasing them away. But they always thought he was so well behaved and so great because he never jumped on anybody and he never did any of those things.
Yeah, so it's certainly important to get that baseline. And then would you say for different breeds as well, like really knowing what's the normal for your type of dog, because a lab might present a little different than a different breeds.
Yeah, yes, that's definitely it. Whenever you bring any puppy home, whether it's a mix or whether it's a purebred, it's really good to do your research first because you can't bring home a golden retriever and expect it to act like a husky. You can't bring home a husky and expect it to act like a Shiba Inu. There are certain breeds that are social butterflies. They're supposed to love everybody on site. And there's some that have very close circles of friends. And they do not accept that many into that circle. That doesn't mean that we, allow aggression outside that circle, but they're just not overly friendly. There's some dogs that follow you into the bathroom and want to see what you're doing. They can't miss anything. And there's some that just want to lay near you. Right. They don't have to be, on you. And there's some that have to be on you.
Right.
And then there's some that just, want to be in your vicinity and hang out.
Yeah.
And they're not overly cuddly. So if you really want a cuddly dog, let's go find a cuddly breed that's going to be that one. But it really is important to understand your breed or mix to find out what is normal for that dog, and not to use the breed as an excuse. So I used to have Shelties.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be reserved. They're not supposed to be fearful, aggressive, running out of the room to hide from people. That's not reserved.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, if we even go back a little bit further than the first 12 weeks of life, what should people be asking breeders? What kind of questions can they ask their breeders? Because which isn't always easy. Sometimes people don't have that access and they just get a puppy and they didn't have that opportunity to talk with breeders. But if they do, what kinds of questions do we want to hear them asking?
What I want folks to ask is what kind of socialization they did with those puppies, and what does that look like? What does that mean? So if someone said, I did lots of socialization, what does that mean? Does that mean that the puppy was only exposed to puppies of the same breed or breed mix? I've had issues with that before too. Did the grandkids come over? How old were the grandkids? Did they allow people in the home after a certain time and carefully handle the puppies? How did the puppies do at the vet office? When they went in for their shots. I want to know what kind of surfaces those puppies got to play on. There are some wonderful puppy programs now for breeders that didn't used to be around when I started all those years ago, that help puppies develop with early neurological stimulation. And today we're going to play in a ball pit, and tomorrow we're going to walk on tile, and that tile is slippery and it's scary. And what kind of exposure and how the puppy did with those exposures, rather than a puppy that just lives in a whelping box for 6 weeks or 8 weeks and then doesn't get outside of that. That's not good. That's not good. There are some breeds that and individuals that can recover from that better than others. But more and more, I think breeders are getting on board with helping those puppies develop better behaviorally, not just physically.
Absolutely. And hopefully we'll start to see the result of that with less dog reactivity and issues down the line.
That would be great.
You talk quite a bit about the different surfaces, and I love that topic because I find it allows for so much creativity. Like you said, the ball pit, we like to do like a bottle pit with recycled bottles. So just different things that are really fun to set up in these little obstacle courses. Do you have any recommendations? Well, I guess this is a two-part question. Do you have any recommendations on what people can do at home to set up their own little obstacle courses without having to go buy a lot of new things? And then what are those benefits? So really the specifics of why we are introducing the puppies to different surfaces. I know you kind of touched on it here and there, but just to kind of let pet parents understand that there is a purpose to making your puppy do obstacles that are like climbing through things, and it's cute, but there's a purpose as well.
There's a purpose. It is really cute. There's your Instagram post. But yes, so different things around your home. What do you have in your yard? Is it grass? Is it artificial grass? Are there rock beds? Is there sand? Is there concrete? Pine straw? This is important because puppies learn to eliminate on certain substrates, on certain surfaces. So if they only eliminate on grass, that's great, unless they move to New York City and need to go on concrete.
Or if you go on vacation, I mean, if you travel, your puppy has to learn.
Right. I've known some puppies that were born in the winter in northern climes, and they thought that they were doing well, and they learned to go on snow. They didn't learn to go outside. They learned to go on snow. And so when the snow started to melt, the puppies started eliminating closer and closer to the areas of shade where the snow was. I know. That's why these things are important. But if you have different surfaces, use them. If you order something from a store and it comes in a box, well, let's go play in the box for a little bit. That's new, and that can be the packing material, if it's safe, can be crunchy and have sounds. don't forget there's so many sounds in the house. What does your hairdryer sound like? What does the blender sound like? What does the oven timer sound like? What does your phone sound like? If you live in a high rise, you've got a lot of access to elevators and stairwells and all sorts of different things. So I think you can be really creative without going and buying some sort of kit that has all these wonderful services. Like you said, you have the bottle pit with recycled bottles. That's fantastic. That's great.
So much fun.
Yeah, it is. And it gives them confidence because they learn to overcome these things. But if you think about it, with their everyday life, for example, we're going to go to the veterinarian and he's going to put us on a scale. Well, the scale moves. So that's a little scary. If it's a little tiny puppy, it's going to probably be on the scale that you have on the table. But the big scale moves too, and it may have a little traction on it for safety. And so that might feel weird on our little paw pads. But if it's a moving surface, well, that's a little unnerving. But you're going to want to weigh your puppy forever. So for medication purposes, for health purposes. So, and just to see how big that baby's getting.
Yeah.
So you want to, make sure that they're comfortable with those variety of surfaces because it's going to just be a practical use for you throughout your puppy's life.
And you mentioned the hair dryer as well, which I think is super important because a part of this socialization is not just the experiences that, dogs, people, sights, and sounds, but groomers, grooming. Oh my goodness. If you have a puppy with coat, prepare now because they have to be groomed for their entire life. And you really want to make sure that they like that and they enjoy it and that it's not stressful. I know it's not on our list, but can you talk a little bit about grooming as a part of socialization as well?
Just did an article on this. It's very timely. It's very fresh in my mind. Well, yes, because a lot of times we get calls for different reasons, but somebody will say, the groomer said I had to call you because the dog got snappy, and it's usually around the hairdryer, like you said, the hairdryer in the face.
Mm-hmm.
The groomers, and thank gosh for just wonderful groomers, they're responsible for making sure that your dog is kept safe and has an enjoyable as much experience as possible, and that the coat is done the way you like it and the way it should be. They are not responsible for training your dog. You've got to do all that prep. So you need to make sure that your dog likes to have his little paws played with and his ears messed with. And like you said, dogs with coat, poodles and doodles and those coats can tangle if you look at them. Look at this. I feel like one right now. I feel like a doodle myself. So this tangles a lot. So
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. You have such beautiful straight hair. It looks, it's gorgeous. So it's work. And so dogs don't like, it hurts when you yank on a tangle. You have to learn to hold it at the base and work its way out. You have to get them used to the blow dryers and the clippers. Clippers can be scary. If you want to Dremel your dog's nails and keep them nice and smooth, that's something that you need to do at home. And again, if you have trouble with that, there are some groups, wonderful groups and some wonderful books now and courses that can help you with that. But I am a big fan of husbandry care and cooperative care and getting these dogs used to being handled by groomers and veterinarians. My dogs have always loved the vets. My vets have always loved my dogs because they're just easy, because I train them to tolerate eye exams and ear exams and why is this leg being twisted this way to check for something. And the more you can do that, the less stressed your puppy is going to be, especially throughout his life.
I think husbandry training can be quite fun, and it's something that we don't always think about, but it's so important. And then when we finally need it, or if we need, of course you need it at some point, it's just so rewarding. But also the pet parents at home, you don't have to have grooming tools. Like, it can be really scary to use scissors or clippers. You don't have to use that stuff. You can use something that sounds like it. So for a Dremel or a nail grinder, you can use an electric toothbrush. I tell a lot of pet parents because it's very soft and safe and it makes kind of a similar noise and it won't hurt your puppy's toes. So you certainly don't have to go buy a grooming kit for any of this training either.
No, you don't. That's a great advice. And another example would be teeth, brushing the teeth. So people say, well, they're going to lose those puppy teeth anyway. So why should I bother? I'm like, because we're in the socialization period. We're getting the puppy used to you messing with his mouth. And a lot of times, whenever you grab a puppy's mouth, you're doing something negative in the eyes of the puppy. So the puppy grabs a hold of something that's dangerous. You reach in there, you pull that out. To the puppy, you just took away his prize. That's a terrible thing. So that's a negative. Now, he shouldn't have eaten it and it's going to hurt him, but he doesn't know that. So if the only interaction you have with that mouth is negative, your puppy is going to end up not wanting you to touch his mouth. So when it comes time to brushing the teeth, or if you have to pill him, by physically giving him a pill or oral medication, you've created a negative connotation. So we're going to make toothbrushing as a puppy just the funnest thing ever. And, I tell people you can put even a little cream cheese on that toothbrush.
I was just going to ask, actually, you answered my next question. Like, what is your tip for teeth brushing? Do you train like a behavior for it? Just kind of make that toothbrush taste really good? Or does it depend on the puppy?
It depends on the puppy. But a lot of times with puppies, I just want them to have the experience of having that toothbrush in their mouth and have it to be delicious and fun and wonderful. I do the same with syringe medication.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Dewormers. Sometimes puppies have parasites. I dip a syringe in peanut butter or baby food, and then I just let them just chomp on that thing and get, that's delicious. And then you slowly squirt the medication in. And you can even start with water, something benign to get them used to it if they don't need medication. The problem with syringe feeding is that you're shoving something in their mouth, and also we're very efficient. We just squirt that, and it's startling. It just splashes it. So the slower you go right there in the pocket between the gum and the tooth, the more they're going to be able to tolerate it. But once they find out that syringe is covered in, like I said, a meat based baby food or peanut butter, they're usually a bigger fan. Or cream cheese. Cream cheese works too.
Oh my goodness, that's genius. I love it. That's a good one. So socialization covers so many areas, and that can make it feel a little bit overwhelming for anyone currently tackling this. How can we make it feel a little less overwhelming and not like this is some big chore, and if you mess up, your puppy is doomed forever?
Doomed.
Right.
No, Melissa and I will tell horror stories.
Yeah, I know. You certainly want to do it, but how can you keep yourself motivated without feeling really let down if you have a bad day and you don't get your puppy out?
If you don't get your puppy out one day, you're going to be fine. But it's important to try to meet that window as much as possible, because you're just helping them for a lifetime. They're going to be with you for hopefully a very, very long time. And so if you look at it as something that's going to help you in the long run, and plus when people get puppies, they just want to spend lots of time with them anyway. So I'm asking you to do that just at a store or somewhere else, because you really want to make the most of those early times. Also, if you do that socialization, you're going to bond with your puppy faster than ever, because the puppy looks to you for comfort. Please, please, please don't believe the myth that you have to wait till all the vaccinations are done. It's too late. Vaccinations are usually completed from 15 to 16 weeks of age, and by then it's too late. And I don't know why that myth is still out there. It has been debunked by the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior, the American Animal Hospital Association, the Association of Professional Dog Trainers. There's lots of really qualified veterinarians and specialists in behavior that have debunked it, but it still persists to this day, and it's very frustrating. We get puppies out at 8 weeks. And we do it safely and we do it carefully, but those puppies grow up to be such confident, wonderful, wonderful social dogs, as opposed to the ones that are cloistered and sheltered for those first 16 weeks. And you're really starting behind when you do that.
That's huge. And what a lifetime of success if you can help your puppy have that life where they can thrive and not be afraid of things and enjoy life. Like, is it worth that risk, right? Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, yes, you have to be safe with diseases, but there's so many ways you can do it. I mentioned putting the towel in the cart.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you put the towel in the cart, you go home, throw the towel in the washing machine. Don't go to a dog park. If you're going to go to a pet supply store where other dogs have been, pick up your puppy. Or if you brought home a Mastiff, you might want to put it in a cart. It's real easy to pick up the Chihuahua, but not the Mastiff so much. But you have to do it safely. You want to make sure that they're clean, but get them out. Get them out. Please don't wait.
I think you may have just answered my next question again. You are good. What is your number one tip? So what is the number one thing we want pet parents to take away from today's episode?
As soon as you bring your puppy home, start your socialization. And if it's an 8 or 9 week old puppy, which is typical, then yes, it's time to start now. Please do not wait. Make it fun. Keep your sessions short. I'm not asking you to spend 7 hours in a Home Depot. It's just, 15 minutes. It would be great. So that would be my number one tip, is please don't believe what people are telling you, and professionals will tell you this outdated information. Sometimes it's hard to get rid of. So there are veterinarians who still promote that. There's still trainers who still promote that. Your cousin is promoting it. Don't listen to your cousin. Take it from someone that has trained many, many, many dogs and written books on training this. And again, the American Veterinary Society for Animal Behavior, they're the ones who specialize in behavior, and they're saying, please get these puppies out safely.
Yeah, and it's a safety for the puppies and also for the community. I mean, we're trying to create safe dogs for other people and to enjoy them and have them be safe, happy dogs in the community. I think that's really an important goal.
It is. I work with a lot of fear and aggression cases, and they're heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because you just want to be able to tell dogs that they're going to be fine. Everything's okay. But they don't understand it that way. And so sometimes it can't be prevented, but a lot of times it can. And so this is what's going to hedge your bet if you socialize your puppy properly during those first critical weeks.
This was some great information. I want to make sure we tell everybody where they can find you. These links will also be right next to this episode, but can you go ahead and tell us the best places to find you?
Sure. You can find me at teotianderson.com. That's Teoti, because no one knows how to spell it, and that's okay. I've lived that out of my life. So it's teotianderson.com. You can also find me at adogsbestfriend.com. And if you want links to the studies and guidelines from those professional organizations, we have a direct link for that. So that's adogsbestfriend.com/socialization. I put it all in one place because I was tired of having to find it and collect it. So I put it all in one place, and that also includes a link to a couple of my articles about socialization as well. So teotianderson.com, adogsbestfriend.com/socialization.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in with us and listening to this episode. We hope this information was really helpful and inspiring in your puppy journey. If you liked this episode, please be sure to subscribe, share it, like it, leave us a comment, and give us your feedback. We're really excited to continue the Pet Care Report, coming up with all kinds of dog training tips, innovations, and tricks. Thank you again, Teoti, for being here. Until next time.
Thank you.